On today's show, we cover three dreams from a lady who has special skill sets and special tools to work her skill sets. And she was inadvertently duped by colleagues into loaning them one of her skills. Is that even possible? How do you do that? Anyway, her dreams over a period of time told her about what is going on and who's using the tools that she loaned nefariously, and we were able to put a stop to it. So it's quite a unique perspective and different type of show than we normally do. Hello and welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast with Michael and Sandy.
Hello, welcome everybody.
This is another half hour of us eavesdropping on the very personal communication between you and the spirit world, because that's what your dreams are. They tell you where you're going wrong. They tell you what you need to do to fix it. They tell you all sorts of things about health, career, relationships, you name it. Whatever you can think of, your dreams are commenting on it. All right, Sandy, how do people send their dreams to the show? You always tell me I forget to say it. You go to dream-analysis.com/podcast, fill in the form that's there, or simply email radioshow@dream-analysis.com. That's it. And thank you to everybody who sends dreams. Anybody who writes to us gets a response from Nicole. That's been how it has been for a long time now. So it is well worth your time. Right, Sandy?
Yes, and we like them. We like the dreams coming in. All righty, Michael, we're going to dive straight in because this one looks like fun. You're going to do a lot of explaining on this one, I could tell. All righty. The title is Getting Information/Help. It is from Tina. Was at a very large corporation and I was looking at a sewing machine with some guy. I was explaining how there were several sets of numbers across the side of the sewing machine and how they all meant something special. I was then explaining to him how there was a woman that I used to work with that could ask her worldwide network from this Fortune 500 company. I said she had a worldwide network that when she needed info or to find something, she could do so easily and effortlessly, and everyone was eager to help her. I said it was so cool how quickly she could do this. All right, Michael, that's a really strange dream, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
So we have talked about this on the show before, and this show is a little bit different, like I said at the intro. There is a tapestry that records everything that you do in your life. And there's all sorts of different threads that are used that are very carefully selected that keep a record of everything and who you interacted with, etc., etc. The tapestry also shows what you should be doing in your life. And we have had dreams on the show before from people who have access to this tapestry. And most people who do, it's simply they have the ability to read it. They can't make changes to it. And so it's really interesting when we see this show up in a dream, because it means that the person who is the dreamer has access to this information. Sandy, do you want to talk about this tapestry? Because you do have access to this. And it's really intriguing.
Ah, very good question, Michael. I never thought it existed, didn't even know anything about it, just kind of heard about it here or there. And I saw it and I thought, oh, that's very interesting. And when I saw how it was explained to me, as that there is like a base tapestry, which is the pattern of what your life is supposed to be. And as you're going through each step of your life, more threads get added on a top layer that kind of ties it in so you can do a comparison between a top layer and a bottom layer to see where you're at in your life and what needs to go on. And this is, I guess, how your guides maybe use it. I'm not sure. But anyways, what was interesting is that I could actually see them doing this. And I've heard of other people that have seen this. And so it's very interesting that this person could see what she called a sewing machine. And I'm assuming that's what you mean by the tapestry.
I do indeed. And the threads and so on. And she can get information about anything. Now, in this system, she says that her friend worked with the worldwide network in a Fortune 500 company. Now, this person is a wizard with karma. She could do anything at all within the karmic system. Here we see it under the 500. But I want to go back to what you can see with the tapestry. Like, you're able to look at the tapestry and see if somebody's being interfered with. How does that show up?
Yes.
And also you can see if somebody's still got the potential to achieve their life purpose or not. You're able to say, hey, you've deviated too much and it can no longer be achieved. How do they show up for you?
How it shows up for me is that if someone's not following their path, the thread starts going off to an angle and everything is tied in. So the earth, people you meet, everything is tied into it. And it starts skewing away from the pattern that's the basis that you should be matching completely. And so I can see that. And if it skews off too much, then you can't find your way back into the pattern. And now you've deviated. And then there are times where there's black threads that get sewed in, and that's when you know something dark has happened in someone's life, where like depression or great sadness or something. You can see by the color of the threads what's going on in someone's life. And so that's what I mainly see.
It's really cool. Um, but and I can also say that people contact you and say, hey, Sandy, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? Should I do your course even? And you're able to say from looking at the tapestry, oh, yeah, it's in alignment with what you need to do, or it's completely not what you need to do. Is that true?
That is true.
All right. So, anyway, what I discovered from channeling on this stream, and it was really intriguing to me, is that the tapestry uses an API into the karmic system. And the threads that are woven into the tapestry pull on these levers. That's how they showed it to me. But it's more sophisticated than that. But they pull slowly and slowly and slowly on these levers, and they make things happen within the karmic system that a person needs. And so that was really, really fascinating. I didn't know about this API. I'm a programmer, so I'm going to call it an API. So you can get the karmic system to do things for a person, for an individual, because of this API. And
So explain what an API is for non-programmers out there.
so it's an interface into the karmic system. So it's an external interface that can be used to make things happen within the karmic system. Now, this lady, Tina, has a special ability within the karmic system. She can do anything within it. And she never unbalances. It's like she created the system. She can do anything within it. And she knows that to make something happen within it, she has to move things out of the way, move things into place, do a lot of things to keep the balance within the system so that the things she wants to happen can happen. And she does that for people. And also, here's what's interesting. She can't do things that are outside the scope of a person's abilities. So she can't fix something that you're meant to fix, that you're meant to do. You know, it's all within legal channels, let's say, within the system. So she has that, but she has the skills and she has the tools and all that sort of stuff. And from channeling on this, I learned that the tapestry has this API or has this interface that it uses. But she loaned a tool. Now, I didn't know. I told her if a tool was stolen, and a tool that she has was stolen, or that she was tricked by somebody into giving a tool into the system. So she gave access via this API because she knew who she was loaning this ability to, didn't have the ability to work within the karmic system, but she knew about this other part. And so she gave them a tool that allowed them access it for their own healing course. She saw this as, I'm helping somebody else out who's spiritual. And, you know, I was part of their team and I used to do this piece to help heal things within the karmic system for people. And because I'm withdrawing from their team, I gave them access to this interface. So when I told her somebody had inadvertently tricked her into giving them a tool, she said, oh, I immediately know who it is and I know what it was and I know when it happened. But she got in trouble for loaning this tool. It's fine if you're at a certain level. It's fine if you are meant to be working at that side of the interface. But most of us aren't. We're in the system. We've surrendered, let's say, control to the system that we're within. And we have to follow the rules within the system. And so just because she had a tool that would allow her bypass the normal channels in the system and she loaned it to somebody else, that's not a good thing. Yes, they can play and they can do things with it. But anyway, that's what this showed, that she had this skill. She knew she couldn't transfer it to somebody else. So she found a workaround that they could use without realizing how not allowed it was. Any comment or questions on that, Sandy? Did I explain that well?
Oh, I have loads of comments or questions. Okay, first of all, so we know the sewing machine is referring to this tapestry. The some guy and I were explaining how there are several sets of numbers across the side. What does that mean?
So the karmic system shows up as a sets of numbers. Like if the people that I know who can work with this system, if they look at a person, they will see like 7, 8, 3, 4. They'll see like a sequence of numbers over a person's head, and their skill is usually in being able to swap the numbers around. So instead of the 7 being next, I can make it be the 8, or I can make it whatever. But the number that they're swapping is already above that person's head. Now, they will see it differently or can see it differently. I'm just saying it this way because we had a dream many, many years ago on the show where somebody who can work within the karmic system, and that's how it showed for her. But at least it makes sense. We can't take away somebody's karma, but we can change the sequence in which they're going to hit things within the karmic system. So we would typically, when we see sequences of numbers and or numbers being very, very prominent, expect it to be about the karmic system. But we already know about Tina that she has this special ability, more than a special ability. She's a master of the whole system. And then we see the Fortune 500 emphasizing karma as the major thing within the system. So it's
Which is the five. Which is the
Absolutely.
five.
Yeah. So it's really
Okay.
cool to see that the karmic system is tied into other systems outside it and is used by them to help us have great things or maybe not so great things happen in our lives because we need to stay in alignment with what our purpose is.
And so who is the she that had the worldwide network? And if she needed info or needed to find something, she could do so easily and effortlessly.
So this is just indicating that there is somebody outside the karmic system who can access anything within it. And so this could either be an aspect of Tina's or it could be somebody that she knows outside the system. But that's the good point. Who is outside the system and tinkering with it? Now nobody is here, but we continue with another dream from Tina that shows us something else that's not great.
Oh, okay. Well, and then it said everyone was eager to help her, and she thought it was cool how quickly she could do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like the system is there, beings who, let's say, who own the planet and who set up the whole thing, the whole karmic system and everything that we use within this system, they can use it to help other people. But a lot of it is kind of running in an automated way. Your life is set up, like you said, the base tapestry is already there. You can see the imprint of what should be sewn in before it's ever sewn in. And then you can see
Right.
what is actually being sewn in. And so the whole thing is recorded. Even if somebody comes along after the fact and says something went wrong last November, what was it? I know from talking to you that you're able to look at the tapestry and go back and go, oh yeah, here's the event that happened. And you can even work with the system and change some of the problems that happen within it or help somebody out to make it more likely that they're going to hit the right mark.
I'm ready to move on. Now you got me excited about the next dream. All righty. I'm told Michael will figure it out by Tina. I dreamt Michael had arrived at my place to do my dreams. I told him my experience of the dream. I was recounting a mix of reality with my dream, not that aspect of the dreams were real, but that reality happened within the dream. I explained there was a judge I knew, and she was behaving a certain not good way, not good at all. And I had to push back on her, and she didn't like it. He asked how it went, and I said, fine. She had no choice. And that's it, Michael. That is okay. Let's see.
All right. So same dreamer, same set of dreams that I got when I was working with her. And so I was really intrigued with this judge character acting in a not good way. And so when I tuned into her, I could see her, and she's absolutely huge. She would remind you of the statue of Lincoln in Washington, D.C., where he's sitting in the chair. And she was sitting in a similar kind of pose, but much more relaxed, leaning back, open-toed sandals and everything like that. But a major, major being, massive in every respect. And that is always reflective of the amount of power that they're able to wield as well. And she was messing with the human system and not good, like messing with the minds of humankind. But to her, it's kind of a game. And so I knew immediately she needed to be disconnected from the system. Now, I don't have the ability to do that sort of thing, but I know who does. What was interesting is that Tina was able to push back on her, and so she had some clout. It was quite surprising that she could stand in front of somebody like that and tell her off. because there is quite a difference in level there. So I discovered then that Tina has this special device, I could describe it, but I won't, that allows her have the authority to stop people who are messing with the system. And it was built specially for her. Then what else did I come across? Yeah, that she loaned the tool. That was true. And then this giant being, and she calls herself the judge, sitting in the pose, and she's connected herself into our system, but she shouldn't be there. I thought she wasn't malicious, but when I passed it on to our expert to deal with it, she had the tool that Tina gave to her colleagues, but she also had two other tools. And so they removed those tools from her because she shouldn't have them at all. And she shouldn't be there in the system. And those tools are what gave her access to mess with people in the system. And she had been providing dark groups with energy using the tools. So basically, Tina got told off that she had been negligent. She shouldn't let anybody else have these things. But really interesting to see how the people that she loaned the tools to, and she, without her knowing, were nefarious. And they were using them by handing them to some other being who actually knew how to use them and knew how to damage people. Like, it was more like there's a cult involved in this. And this being is able to use the tools and use access to humans to feed energy back to the top people in this cult. Really scary stuff in a lot of ways, but also shows how a person who brings a skill set with them here to the earth plane can be used inadvertently to do something that causes great harm to large groups of people.
Yes, definitely. That's very interesting. But we've seen that in other dreams where people have these very special skills. Like even normal people that have the skill to project their mind can cause problems by they can convince people to do things um, over and over. We've seen that where they convince people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And I think you had to do a good job of explaining that.
Yeah, it's so we all bring skills with us, and some people bring the ability to project their mind in a very, very strong way. Like I've got that ability. I know lots of people who have that ability. If you have flying dreams, you've got that ability. Lots of people have those dreams. But the projection tends to only kick in when you're using it with another gift. And how it's useful is if I'm helping somebody understand their dreams, as I'm explaining to them what the core message of the dream is, as long as I understand it, they will understand it. And they're like, oh, it makes sense. I get it. I get it. And you know, so you can see how that ability working in harmony with another one really helps you help somebody else. So that's the way it's meant to be used. But some people use this in a kind of a nasty way. And they use it to make somebody else believe everything that they want them to believe. So should you sign up for my course? Absolutely. And you can't think any other way. You're like, this is definitely something I should do. But one of the giveaways in this is if the person really wants you to think they're amazing, that they're like they are the light of God almost, then it's a good giveaway that they're using it in a nefarious way to feed themselves. Because that should never be the case. Nobody should ever be working with you to help you heal, to help you do anything, and make you think at the same time that I can only do it through this person. We say it to everybody all the time. Nobody is needed on this planet. That's the way you have to look at things. That you're not needed. Nobody else who's filling any role is needed. That the system will find somebody who can play a role. Like you are not the savior. You are not, like, don't get so big-headed that you think what I'm here to do is going to help the whole planet. You have to realize you're playing a role. We all are. And in that role, we're going to learn about ourselves. So I'm going to help somebody through my dream ability. And I'm also going to help myself. I'm going to learn something about me through helping other people too. And while I can help other people with my ability with dreams, I also get help from other people with other skill sets to help me see things about myself, to help me heal things about myself, to help me grow. There is no person on the planet who is at the top and can say, it's all up to me. So if you meet somebody who has that kind of a vibe, steer clear from them because they're using their abilities in a non-beneficial way for you. You're going to end up getting trapped. That's a very cultish thing. If it feels cultish that I need to be in this group, and if I'm not in this group, I'm missing out, I'm not going to heal, I'm not going to do whatever it is I need to do on the planet, that's not a good sign. Did that explain it?
I think it did. I think you did good. And so it also explains why she had this very special gift to bring these tools. And
And
I don't think she
she
was.
was persuaded to give them away by
Yep.
somebody who had a very strong mental projection ability. And so the person who got the tool from her has it in spades. And I remember when working with this person before, had to tell everybody else in the class, hey, if you're channeling for this person, you have to ask your guides to remove all influence from this other person. I'm not going to name them. I know who they are. Remove all influence from this person and then give me the answer. And of course, your guides then will do that. Because if you don't do that, you're only going to get what's in her head. And so this can work against somebody who has this ability very strong. They can say, what am I meant to do in my future? And they will encounter somebody who's very good at channeling, but they're just going to tell them what they already think they're meant to do. They don't realize their field is swamping what they're picking up. Again, it's meant to be used properly in a very beneficial way. And of course, you're going to get slapped on the wrist very badly in your life review at the end when you use something like this nefariously. And I say nefariously, knowing what it means. People can get duped, and they still go along with being duped. But anyway, do you have more questions about this dream, or
No, I'm ready to move on to the next stream because I just realized we have another one from Tina. So this will be interesting. Are you ready, Michael?
yeah, it all ties in.
Okay, cool. This one is titled Wrong Driver's License. Ooh. Okay. Was with some woman and I pulled out my driver's license and I saw it belonged to May. I asked her if she had my driver's license, but she didn't, and she took hers back. I asked her to give me the one she had. It was some guy's, but I thought I needed one. Then I asked the other woman if hers was correct, and it was. I wanted them to help me find mine, but because they had theirs, they weren't that helpful. I thought if I got stopped by the cops, at least I had a license and I could just say it was mixed up. I figured I could talk my way out of a problem. Okay, Michael, that's very interesting.
So this dream is Tina's from way before she gave the tool away. This includes one of the colleagues that she was working with that she pulled away from because she felt something's not right here. But she felt guilty about it, pulling away because they had set up a healing program. And without her, they weren't able to heal a particular thing. And so she loaned them the tool to do that healing because she felt bad about pulling back. And so in her dream, before she was ever aware anything was ever wrong, she dreams that one of these colleagues, and I changed the names, they're not the names, one of the colleagues, in her dream, she looks at her own ID and sees that it's wrong, that this other colleague, her identity is within me. Now, how could that get there? How could I have an identity belong to someone else? And not only that, where is mine? So the trail that the dream points at is that this other person was nefariously in your field, has left their signature there accidentally, but they've taken something of yours because you don't know where your idea is. So not good at all. We should never have dreams that indicate that. And so she gives the ID back to May. Like I said, names are all different, but she gives it back, but she still doesn't know where hers is and knows that she needs to find it. So here's the way to think about it. We can always turn dark or align ourselves with someone who is dark. So her colleagues are not dark at all, but they align themselves with somebody who is. And how it happened, one of them told me, is an archangel showed up and told them they were going to work with them. Now, when I looked at this and looked at her dreams, I said, this is not an archangel. This is somebody you shouldn't be working with at all. It's somebody who's pretending. And this is part of the whole ID issue. If I can grab something of yours on the spirit plane, so if I get something of yours, Sandy, I can show up and pretend to be you if I know how to do it. If I know how to use a tool of yours or use an aspect of yours to masquerade as you. So somebody's masquerading as an archangel. Why would you do that? First of all, an archangel is never going to show up and say, hey, I want to work with you. They're never idle. They're the hardest working angels. So they don't have idle time to go, let's find somebody I should work with. So we have somebody who's masquerading as an archangel. And we got that being removed from this person. But 3 weeks later, she had called it back in, another one back in. Now, we can't stop that. If somebody calls somebody in, doesn't matter what you can do. They're kind of giving them a contract to say, I am allowing you be in my space. And so that's what's happened. But this is somebody aligning themselves deliberately with somebody who is nefarious, deliberately because they already knew at that stage that this was somebody pretending to be somebody other than who they were. So if you already know that and you align yourself with them, you know they're nefarious. What the hell are you doing that for? But this is one of the reasons that lifetimes are short. You can be in the light, you can learn to access and develop your skills, and then you can be duped. And if you're duped, it does not help you at all in your lifetime. From that point forward, no matter how much you think you're helping people, you are hurting yourself. And so lifetimes are short for that reason. The risk of aligning yourself with someone who's dark and you either don't know or you do know, but you're like, I don't care. I like the power that it gives me. It reminded me of when I did the Silva mind control method many, many years ago, the old system, not the new system that Mind Valley have. When programming you to use the tools that they give you, they always prefixed it with, if I attempt to use this for any nefarious purpose, the ability will be removed from me. All the way through that whole program, they know that, and they have it programmed in subconsciously, hopefully by the end of the program, that if you go to turn dark, you'll lose the ability. Now, you don't have to lose the ability, but it's well known by anybody who's in the light, by anybody who helps other people access their abilities, that one of the horrible things that can happen to you is you access your ability, you lose the run of yourself, you get big-headed, you end up being cultish or in a cult and not really helping people. You're trapping people from that point forward. And so a lot of systems have things in place to stop you from doing it. But anyway, here we have Tina, a long time before she realized there was a problem, before she realized the tool was being used the wrong way. Her dreams were alerting her to the fact that at least one of her colleagues was up to something nefarious because she had other people's ID. Why would May even have another man's ID? That should never happen. It should just be yours. Have I belabored that point, or do you have questions, Sandy?
Well, so she was concerned by being stopped by the cops, and she would at least have a license. So what's going on there?
So she didn't quite figure it out in the dream. She knew something was up, that she should have her ID, not somebody else. And
Right.
if the cops, so the cops in dreams represent spiritual authority. So if the spiritual authority come to her, she can at least show an ID and go, look, I have this. I know it's not mine, but I don't know where mine is. She's not trying to hide from the cops, which is a
Right.
good thing. We see some people in dreams, they're like, I want to hide because I know I'm doing up to no good. But it's still a problem. She knows there's a problem, but she hasn't quite figured it out at this stage.
Wow, and that was interesting because that was a dream that was way before the other two.
Yeah, months before. And I put them all in sequence here because it shows what our dreams are dealing with. Our dreams comment from the spirit world perspective. They do not comment from the physical world perspective. Of course, a lot of what we're doing is physical world only, so they will comment on that. But their whole viewpoint and perspective is from what is your life about? We know what it all is. We know about the tapestry. We know everything you're meant to be doing. We see when somebody's playing with the tapestry. We see when you're giving somebody the ability to do something outside the karmic system and influence the karmic system. And we know that that's wrong. And we are telling you that you need to fix this. And so she knew all of these things from looking at her dreams and working with me. But she knew something was wrong anyway. And all she would have to have done is talk to her guides and say, look, this is what's going on. I don't understand it. Can you raise an alarm up the chain and get this fixed for me? Extremely interesting and also very sad at the same time that you can see how somebody gets involved with a cult, which is what her colleagues got involved in. And they are now using Tina's skills to not do good things. I mean, I don't want to say it on the radio, but to not do good things. So their clients
Right.
that they are attracting are coming into harm's way without even realizing that they're coming into harm's way.
Right. Well, that explains how cults get started in the first place.
Yeah, for the people that are pulled in, though, what happens is their power and their gifts that they brought with them, and anything that they don't even know about that they brought with them that is useful to the spirits who are involved in this cult, they can really amass a lot of power, a lot of influence, and hurt people who go against them, let's say.
Well, Michael, that was very, very insightful. I'm sure people are going to have questions now. It'll be interesting to see what comes into the mailbag for Nicole.
Yeah, when we teach the channeling program, in the very early stages of it, I point out that there are nefarious groups on the planet, and you won't necessarily know who they are, because if somebody was to steal a lot of people's energy, say 1,000 people's power or 1,000,000 people's power, by offering them something that they think is good and worthwhile and helps them and protects them, they can shine the brightest in a room because they're stealing so much power from so many people. And they look authentic, they look good. But I say to people when they're doing our programs, don't even believe me. Once you can channel, build a rapport with your guides, and don't even trust me. Ask your guides to corroborate everything I tell you and get into that habit. Do that with everybody, even people you know who are in the light. And your guides are going to confirm and corroborate everything that's good for you. And they're going to talk against anything that's bad for you. So use them because they know what's going on way more than anyone else. I think it's one of the best things that you can ever get when you learn to channel is to build that rapport with your guides and then use them to be the bouncers and to say whether you should do this course or that course or anything else. Or, hey, Michael said this, should I believe it? So I know that they're going to agree with what I say. So I can confidently say to you, talk to your guides at any point and then get them to corroborate things. And if there is something off, then follow their advice. If they say don't do a program, don't go near a person, then don't do it. Now, part of what you have to do is learn how to clear yourself, get into a good space, make sure it's your guides you're talking to. But we teach people how to do that. And then you be the source of your own power, the source of your own light, rather than relying on somebody else on the physical plane to do something for you. It's all about empowerment. That's it for this week. We're going to continue a little bit more in the vein of this next week, but hopefully you enjoyed it because you're going to get more of it.
Have a great week. Thank you, everybody. Bye.